The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus said to his disciples, "The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure buried in a field, which a person finds and hides again, and out of joy goes and sells all that he has and buys that field." Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant searching for fine pearls. When he finds a pearl of great price, he goes and sells all that he has and buys it. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
After a week of bad air and heat, humidity, and storms, I'd love for you to come here and for me to be able to tell you that the Word of God tells us to lighten up and take it easy. Instead, we get just the opposite. Today's readings ask us to consider what is the most important, the most precious thing in our lives, and what would we be willing to give up for it? That is the downside in the parable of the buried treasure and the parable of the pearl of great price, is that in both cases, the person is required to sell everything that they own in order to obtain them. So who or what is so important to you that you would sell off everything that you own in order to have it? There's a fun question to bring up at a family get-together. Or if you value family harmony, you might just want to reflect on it privately by yourself on the patio. I don't know. Who or what is so important to you that you would, in fact, sell off everything in order to have it? I think our first reading does help us a bit as we reflect on that. Solomon's request for an understanding heart. Usually, as the introduction to that reading indicated, we tend to think of Solomon asking for wisdom. Yet what the scriptures tell us is that Solomon asked for an understanding heart. Wisdom would seem to imply at least a certain level of intellectual acumen. But a person can be completely illiterate and still have an understanding heart. I would suggest that Solomon's prayer is not to be taken in isolation, but is very much related to another part of the Old Testament. Isn't Solomon's request very similar to what Adam and Eve desired when they went to the tree in the middle of the garden, the tree of which they were forbidden to eat because they wanted to have the knowledge of good and evil? of wisdom and understanding. There are, of course, two very important differences between Solomon and Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve just take that knowledge from the tree. Solomon prayerfully asks for it. And Adam and Eve seem to want that understanding for themselves, perhaps to cover up their nakedness, their vulnerability, and give them a sense of control and power. Whereas Solomon asks for an understanding heart so that he might better serve others. Jesus inaugurates the reign of God. And the reign of God is given as a gift. It cannot be taken. It cannot be seized. And the joy is that the kingdom is discovered by us not when we try to make ourselves secure or powerful or wealthy, but in serving others and seeking the rights and well-being of our sisters and brothers. Now, who or what is so important to you that you would sell off everything to have it?